There's quite a few things that narcissists take a real disliking to, such as losing control of somebody else's mind, being in the wrong, people not admiring them as they believe they should be admired. And one of these things that a narcissistic person really does not like doing is taking responsibility for the things that they should take responsibility for. Narcissistic people do not do responsibility. They do passing the blame, they do projection, they do gaslighting, silent treatment, stonewalling, anything they can to avoid taking responsibility for their very own behaviour. And the more you try to get a narcissist to take responsibility, the more this is going to backfire on you, because they're going to believe that you've turned against them. They're going to seek to twist your words and use them against you. They're going to seek to punish you. When it comes to a narcissist, their mindset is, it didn't happen. And if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, it's not a big deal. And if it is a big deal, then it's not their fault. And if it is their fault, then somehow you or those around you made them do the things they did to you or did to those around you. They do not take responsibility for their behaviour. One of the major signs that you're being gaslighted is when you find yourself apologising often for things you didn't even do. As narcissistic people will twist the story in such a way that you end up apologising to them for the things they've done to you. When you call a narcissist out on their behaviour, they're going to come at you with so much gaslighting and projection and word salad to distract you, to blame you. They're going to claim that never happened, it wasn't that bad, you're overreacting, you're being too dramatic, you're being awkward, you're being selfish, you're being too sensitive, you're being jealous, you're overreacting, you're imagining things, it didn't happen like that, if only you hadn't, I'm sorry, but if you didn't, I'm sorry, if only you hadn't. They're going to apologise in the way that lays the blame at your door. What about when you? If only you weren't so difficult. So when you do something wrong and take responsibility for your behaviour and you recognise you've done something wrong and you take responsibility and you feel remorseful and then you say sorry to the other person and you recognise it and learn from it and don't do it again. With narcissistic people, they don't take responsibility. So they don't recognise what they've done wrong. They lack the empathy to feel remorseful and they fail to change their behaviour. They just find whatever manipulative method they can get away with using to get away with their behaviour, even by appealing to popular opinion to avoid taking responsibility. Narcissists are looking to avoid taking responsibility at all costs to you and at all costs to those around you. And as they can feel very hard done to, or they can feel that grandiose sense of superiority that nobody can touch them, they go all out with their exaggerated lies to get away with their behaviour, to make other people take responsibility for the narcissist's behaviour, creating that self-doubt in those around them. So you call a narcissist out on their behaviour, they're going to come at you with things such as that never happened, you're imagining things, if only you hadn't have done this. They're going to make you feel bad and then they're going to get you to say sorry to them for what they did to you. They do it in that charismatic, grandiose charm or in that vulnerable, woe is me victim play. Narcissists fail to take responsibility for their children. So they will pick their children up as and when their children can supply them with something. At all other times, they will ignore their children. So the truth is out there in reality that the narcissist doesn't necessarily see their children very often. However, they twist that by failing to take responsibility for their children, by blaming somebody else as to why they don't see their children. The same with financial responsibility. They will fail to take financial responsibility for their children, and they will claim that the other parent who is taking financial responsibility is trying to take advantage of them, to try and gain that sympathetic attention. They will, instead of taking responsibility, taking ownership of their behaviour, they will appeal to a popular opinion with that. Well, what about those people who do withhold children? They look to insult people. They look to invalidate people. They don't form a healthy debate or a healthy discussion. They don't see another person's perspective. They look to insult people, intimidate people, invalidate people. Their way of winning an argument is by putting other people down, by invalidating people's viewpoints. Narcissistic people with addictions will not take responsibility for their own addictions. They will find something in their past to blame. They will find somebody else to blame. A narcissistic person who cheats will not take responsibility for their cheating, for their dishonesty, for their disloyalty to somebody. Instead, they will blame the other person. If you'd have paid me more attention, I wouldn't have gone elsewhere. Or they'll blame the person that they cheated on you with. If they want to still be with you, they'll say, oh, they wouldn't leave me alone. What else was I supposed to do? Almost like they're a hero for cheating. When they have a child that wasn't planned, well, it wasn't my fault, it's your fault I had a child I didn't want. Even if that child's not yours, even if that child's with somebody else, they're going to look to blame somebody else. A narcissistic boss, when they fail to take responsibility for their role, they will delegate to their employees jobs that the boss should actually be taking care of, and because the employees aren't yet skilled, or the boss doesn't know what they're doing, so hasn't trained them up to be skilled enough to do it, when things go wrong, the narcissist is going to look to blame the employees. A co-worker will do the bare minimum work and look for ways to blame other co-workers. They fail to take responsibility at each and every turn. Narcissistic people flex. They find a truth and then they bend it to suit their narrative. So because it's a truth, it's more believable, even though the narcissist is bending that truth. And they never get away with this on a long-term basis, because when you bend things, eventually they fling back and smack the narcissist. Reality smacks them in the face, and they have to lie and deny and blame and shame and intimidate and move on to people who are unaware of their behaviour. Narcissistic people do not change. They change their manipulation. They change their lies. They change the people they are around. Because they don't take responsibility for their behaviour, they do not change their behaviour. They see no reason to change because they don't feel like they're to blame. And trying to get them to take responsibility doesn't work, because they just believe you turn against them, and they then feel a need to punish you. Narcissistic people exploit people, but they twist it within their own minds that the other person deserves to be exploited, so they can avoid taking responsibility for exploiting the other person. They lack the empathy to care. So they're going to flex. They're going to falsify information by lying about the lead up to the events, or lying about the circumstances around certain events, so that the narcissist can evade exposure, so the narcissist doesn't have to be held responsible, so the narcissist isn't held accountable, so the narcissist doesn't have to face the consequences. However, as the narcissist is avoiding those consequences, they usually pass responsibility over to somebody else who isn't at fault. And as that somebody else often is a person that takes responsibility, they end up not only taking responsibility for their own behaviour, taking responsibility of the narcissist behaviour by thinking, well, was it that bad? Am I being too sensitive? It doesn't happen very often. You know what they're like. I know what they're like. You will often find with somebody who's been the victim of a narcissist, they usually throughout the relationship and even after the relationship is over can downplay the narcissist's behaviour, can excuse, justify and rationalise the narcissist's behaviour. And you will often find that they will blame themselves in some way. They will say, well, if I hadn't have done that, well, I pushed their buttons, well, I did this. They take responsibility for parts that they didn't even play. When it comes to a narcissistic person, they will talk badly of people, even when they're in a relationship with those people. They will gossip about those people. They will put those people down. They will make out that the other person has done everything wrong. They will make out that they did all they can to help that person. And they will exaggerate the negative behaviour within the other person and exaggerate how helpful they were. A narcissist will sink somebody for depression and then take them to the doctors and take the credit for helping that person they've sunk for depression. Reality shows that that person is depressed. The narcissist is sending them that way, which doesn't show. The narcissist will then bend the truth and lie to gain sympathetic attention from those around them of how much they're helping that person to evade exposure for what they're doing to that person. Narcissistic rage. We can all get angry. We can all have our buttons pushed. We can all be resentful. We can all be jealous. Jealousy is a good sign that we would like to do something. Most genuine people who are jealous will be pleased for the other person and just think, oh, I wish I had that experience. Oh, I wish I could do that. Wow, you're so lucky. Well done you. They'll be pleased for that person, but wish they could achieve it for themselves. Narcissistic people are envious. So they can't be pleased for the other person. They seek to put the other person down. They seek to sabotage the other person, but they'll not take responsibility for that because they believe the other person has stolen from them. When a narcissist gets angry, they're going to blame you for making them angry. Whereas when you get angry, more often than not, you blame yourself and think, oh, I shouldn't have behaved like that. I shouldn't have done that. And then you end up beating yourself up for normal emotional responses. The thing is, a narcissist is going to fail to take responsibility, pass responsibility over to you, gaslight your reality, frustrate you to a point where you snap. Everybody has their limits, and then they're going to blame you. Then they're going to stand back and say, what's wrong with you? What's your problem? Are you having a bad day? I think you're losing your mind. You're going a bit crazy. Whereas a narcissistic person is going to deceive you. They're going to exploit you. They're going to take advantage of you. And then when they can't take advantage of you, they're going to rage out at you to get what they want from you and blame you for not giving them what they wanted. These emotions are very similar between narcissistic and non-narcissistic people. It's the lead up to the cause of these emotions that are different between the two people. And it's the person who takes responsibility that is the difference between these two people. Now, some narcissistic people are a little trickier and will pretend to take responsibility when there's somebody watching, when there's an audience, when it will work in their favour. When somebody is humble, they do things without an audience. They do things without people watching. They do things with very little reward. Narcissistic people are after the reward, they're after the credit, and they're after avoiding taking responsibility at all costs to those around them. If anyone has any thoughts on this video, please do add those into the comments. Thank you very much to all the returning subscribers and your continued support with the channel. It's greatly appreciated. If you are new to the channel, I'm Elizabeth Shaw. This channel is all about narcissistic behaviour to give you more understanding of the people you might be dealing with within your life, how to handle yourself around those people if you cannot go no contact, and different methods to find what works for you to help you understand and overcome narcissistic and emotional abuse. If you do find the information helpful on the channel, please do subscribe. Thank you very much for listening. If you are looking for further help and support, I do have several online guides available, and those teachable links are in the video description. If you're looking for someone to speak to or have partnered with BetterHelp, and their sponsored link is also in the video description. Go out there and create the day that you deserve, because you do deserve to have an amazing day. Bye.